Hello students. Now the next part we are going to talk is in the endocrine system, the chemical coordination and integration is called hypothalamus. So hypothalamus. Now naturally everybody is thinking that hypothalamus is a part of nervous system. Yes, it's a part of nervous system. It's a part of diencephalon. Hypothalamus is a part of diencephalon. And how it is going to control the nervous system. So it is correct. Hypothalamus is that particular part of the brain which is controlling the functions of anterior and posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. Let us understand how it happens. So hypothalamus is a part of diencephalon. Hypothalamus forms, you can see, floor of third ventricle. We are going to discuss third ventricle, lateral ventricle and fourth ventricle in the brain in the next chapter. But hypothalamus is a part of brain, it's a part of diencephalon, it makes the floor of third ventricle. And hypothalamus is connected to the anterior and posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. How it is? Now suppose we make a diagram, a simple diagram to explain this. So this is the area called as hypothalamus. This hypothalamus consists of masses of grey matters called as nuclei. Okay? There are many nuclei that are present in this particular hypothalamus. Now, from this hypothalamus, the peanut shape extension is known as the pituitary gland. Yes, so this is called pituitary gland. So this pituitary gland, this is the pituitary gland. You can see this is known as anterior pituitary, and this is going to be posterior pituitary gland. So this area is called, let's label it, it is known as hypothalamus. This hypothalamus is connected to anterior pituitary also and to the posterior pituitary also, but the connections are going to be different. And what are the connections? This is also important. So from the hypothalamus, there are some connections of, this is called, see, this is known as which gland? I am writing in short. This is pituitary gland, also called hypophysis. It is also called hypophysis gland, hypophyseal gland. So this particular artery actually is known as superior hypophyseal artery. So this artery is going to make the network of capillaries, the fluxes of capillaries, and this network and fluxes of capillaries is going to form very interesting system known as portal system. So what are these? This kind of diagram you all studied. You studied in the kidneys in renal physiology, right? So this particular system, this vein is known as portal vein. And this system, these are fenestrated capillaries that passes into the anterior lobe of pituitary, and this system is known as hypothalamico. This is hypothalamus. This is hypophysis. Another name of pituitary, hypothalamico hypophyseal portal circulation. You better know what is portal circulation. The type of circulation which begins with the capillaries and ends with the capillaries is called portal circulation. We have already discussed the portal circulation in hepatic portal circulation and renal portal circulation, right? So this is the portal circulation, hypothalamico hypophyseal portal circulation. So very similarly, hypothalamus is also connected to the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. But how it is possible? This is possible because in the posterior pituitary there are some nuclei present, right? So these are the different kind of nuclei that are present. This is known as, it is known as supraoptic nuclei. This is called as what? Supraoptic nuclei. And this is called paraventricular nuclei. Right. So from this nuclei, the neurons are connected to the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland, so that they are, these are the tracts of the nerve fibers. They passes into the posterior pituitary gland, and this is how, these are the nerve endings. These are the nerve endings actually. You can see some nerve-like structures are also present in neurons, which are basically called as Hering's body. So that means this is known as tract, This is called as tract. So this is also hypophyseal tract. It is called as hypophyseal tract. Okay, this is a portal system, portal vein, and this is called tract. These are nothing but the neurons. Okay, nerve endings actually, these are called as neurons. These are called hearing bodies, somewhere the neurohormones are stored. So this is how you can understand the hypothalamus is completely controlling the anterior and posterior pituitary gland. So it controls the anterior pituitary through the portal vein, and it is having direct neural connection with the posterior pituitary gland. Okay, so this is hypothalamus and this is the pituitary gland, anterior and posterior pituitary gland. Now let's understand what are the hormones that are produced by hypothalamus. So what are hypothalamic hormones? Now hypothalamic hormones, this is called hypothalamic hormones, are chemically, these hormones are chemically peptides. Okay, we already discussed the chemistry of the hormones in the last lecture. You should understand the chemical nature of the hormones. These are peptide hormones. These hormones are of two types that are either called as releasing factors or inhibiting factors. Try to understand the abbreviations. Releasing factors or inhibiting factors. These releasing factors are also called librins. They are also called librins, and these are also called statins. Librins and statins. Okay. So different releasing factors are there. So what are releasing factors? Releasing factor number one is growth hormone releasing factor, thyrotropin releasing factor, corticotropin releasing factor, gonadotropins releasing factor, prolactin or lactotrop releasing factor or prolactin releasing factor, or MSH releasing factor. So these are all called releasing factors, and similarly there are inhibiting factors. The inhibiting factor of GH is very specific. It is known as somatostatin. It is called as what? Somatostatins. So these are the releasing factors and inhibiting factors. These all are neurohormones that are produced by hypothalamus, and it also produces two another classes of hormones called as ADH and oxytocin. So these are the hypothalamic hormones. So hypothalamus produces releasing factors called librins, inhibiting factors called statins, and ADH and oxytocin, which are stored into the posterior pituitary lobe, posterior pituitary gland. Right. So I'm revising again. Growth hormone releasing factor, thyrotropin releasing factor, corticotropin releasing factor, gonadotropin releasing factor, prolactin releasing factor, and MSH releasing factors. There are inhibiting factors to all these, and as well as it produces neurohormones called ADH and oxytocin. So what hypothalamus secretes is the class of hormones called as neurohormones. Right? Let's try to understand. So what the diagrammatic representation or the simple representation how the hypothalamus is going to control the pituitary gland. Now suppose this is hypothalamus. Hypothalamus produces what is it called? Releasing factor. This releasing factor is passing through the portal veins now, and through the capillary fenestrations of the capillary, they are diffused into the pituitary gland. Then they are going to act on anterior pituitary gland. The anterior pituitary gland contains some important cells. These cells, now suppose this releasing factor is growth hormone releasing factor. Suppose this is growth hormone releasing factor of hypothalamus. It will stimulate the pituitary gland, the cells of the pituitary gland, and then pituitary gland will be able to secrete the hormone called as growth hormone, and then growth hormone will produce the substances called somatomedins from the liver, and this will control the growth of bones and muscles. So this is that particular cascade. You can understand how hypothalamus is controlling the growth of bones and muscles. Now, hypothalamus produces neurohormones. We have taken an example, growth hormone releasing factor. Growth hormone releasing factor is controlling the functions of anterior pituitary. It is a releasing factor. It will release the growth hormone. Growth hormone will produce somatomedins, and somatomedins causes growth of bones and muscles. So this is the hypothalamus. That means we always say pituitary is a master gland of the body, no doubt. But even pituitary is under control of hypothalamus. Anterior pituitary through portal veins, and posterior pituitary through the nerve tracts. Hypothalamus and the pituitary nerve tract. Okay, so in the next lecture, now we'll be talking about the proper structures of pituitary gland and the differences between anterior and posterior pituitary gland. Thank you very much.